All right, so welcome to Mr. Caldwell's class. I'm going to give you some overview, a little bit of my teaching philosophy, and some things that go along with that. So this is what it's going to be. Okay, so tech not working real great. So this is the Google Classroom codes for all of my classes. I know you can't see that real well necessarily, but I will have that posted for all the students as they come into class, be able to get online and get going because Google Classroom's set. It's ready to roll. And I've got a lot of stuff in there already, things they need to be working on and getting going on for that. Okay? All right, so basic emergency information, knowing the difference between a lockdown and a lockout. A lockout, we're allowed to keep teaching in that. Lockdown is, keep quiet, keep it dark in there. If there's a fire, we're going to go outside the door, either my classroom or the lecture hall, depending on which one we're meeting in, and then we're going to go out the doors by the lecture hall, up the sidewalk, and just across the circle there under the tree. Tornado, if we're in my classroom, we go straight across the hallway and go into the counselor's area. If we are in the lecture hall, we stay in there, get out of there. Evacuation, if we've got to do that, we're going to head over to the Career Center, and each of the grades have a specific place that they are supposed to go to, and then teachers are reporting to areas to check in on everybody for that, but we'll take care of explaining that. For the most part, I've got juniors and seniors for most of my classes, and so juniors are going to go to the auditorium, seniors are going to go to the back auto garage. If it's during impact, my 9th graders are going to the front hallway at WCC, 10th graders in the mid hallway in there, okay? And teachers, again, will be spreading out for those things, but we'll make sure everybody knows where they're going if those things happen for that. Okay? Again, this is just a brief overview of some things and clarifications for stuff. All right, so phones, nope. Okay. My teaching philosophy, okay? I tend to be a bit of a smart aleck. I will admit that. I will own that. But I believe teaching should be fun. I believe class and learning should be fun. Now, it's not all the times goofy and gaming and all that type of stuff, but there should be some enjoyment to it. There should be some joy of what's going on in the learning process and the teaching process for that. So if a student leaves an opening, we're probably going to have some fun. I'm probably going to have some fun with it, but at the same time, I expect a respectful shot back at me if I leave an opening for that. Fair's fair, right? Okay. If a student ever walks in class and says, "Hey, Mr. Caldwell, what are we doing today in class?" and I say, "I got creative," just buckle up, hang on, let's see how it goes. Okay. I try some crazy stuff at times. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I also followed up with, I am willing to say, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Okay? Sometimes my ideas don't work out. Lesson plans that I have from over the years are a number of places where they say, don't ever do this again. And I keep a note of things that didn't work so that I know if I'm thinking of stuff to look back and see about that. Right? Seating charts, my plan for that is the second day of class, students will sit where they want to. There may be some guidance or restrictions, whether we're in the classroom or the lecture hall, depending on the number of students and how I work that out. But that's how that would look in there. They're going to stay there until I need to change. And the change is going to come because somebody's messing things up. Somebody's pushing buttons they shouldn't be. They're not paying attention, whatever that may be. So if you as a student can't sit by your best friend for 45 minutes and behave, don't sit by your friend for 45 minutes. Find somewhere else to go. But I also believe that peer pressure is actually a good thing that we could use. And if students are seeing other students doing things they shouldn't be, talk to them, get after them on that, tell them to knock it off, whatever that may be, so that we can keep the seating chart the way that it is. Okay? But if I need to move somebody, I'm probably moving everybody. So the class is responsible for the class in there. Okay? Students who come in late, as far as get transferred in after we've set the seating charts, are going to have to sit where the openings are in there. Okay? I do tend to do a pretty good amount of work. I don't spend a lot of time lecturing and doing that type of stuff. I want the students doing the work and learning how to learn and how to understand things. Okay? So there's going to be a lot of stuff in there. So as far as that goes, I'm trying to duplicate real work in the real world in there, where you got responsibilities every single day during your job that you're doing. Trying to teach you for real life in there. Okay? Again, I said I'm not a lecture type of teacher. I do put in here that it's harder than Harvard. And the reason I say that is I ran across an article during the 24-25 school year where somebody had interviewed kids that were Harvard students. and most of them had never read a single book the entire year. Okay? During my class, in fall semester we're going through one book, in spring semester we're going through 2 books, and then there's also going to be 4 book projects, 1 each quarter. We're going to get through 7 books during the school year at some level of that. So that's why I say sometimes my class seems like it's harder than Harvard. But I know you can do the work. I'm not going to expect more than students can accomplish, and you'd be amazed what you can actually accomplish in there. Right? Some more general stuff. Chargers and outlets. I have chargers all around the classroom, and I have extension cords, power strips that can reach everywhere in this room. So, and I have extra chargers, so there's no reason not to have a fully charged Chromebook. Okay? PowerSchool and Google Classroom, I try and keep that very, very up to date. But one of the things that I also do is I try and make the assignment in Google Classroom and the assignment in PowerSchool to be the exact same name, so that there's no confusion about what they are. Okay, make it very, very clear in there. Okay? Mr. House will be in my classroom for a few of the English classes and helping out with students in there. He has a desk at the back of the room, so students are to stay away from that, just like they were to stay away from my desk. Not come behind that and work on that. You're allowed to approach us, right, and talk to us, but not hanging out or using either one of our desks for anything. I have some emotional support stuffed animals in here. I know that there are times that students have to come to school even though they really don't want to for whatever reason, something's going on in life, but they don't have a choice. They need to be here. They have to be here for that, but they're like, I just can't. Okay, I get that. Grab one of the emotional support stuffed animals. I have a couple of cows, I have a bear, I have a caterpillar, I've got a horse, I've got a skunk, I've got a goldfish. Okay? You take that, you just set it on your desk. I'm going to check in with you and see what's going on. If you're willing to tell me about it, great. If you're not, that's your prerogative, and I'm fine with that. And I'll see if there's anything I can do to help you with things. The emotional support stuffed animal says that you, as a student, will pay attention in class. It also says that I'm not going to call on you during class. Okay? So, school's still going to happen. We can make adjustments. But I've had students take that before that have had a family member in the hospital or pass away. They've had pets with health issues. They've broken up with their significant other. I even had one girl who came and borrowed it to go donate blood because she was so nervous about the needles in there. Okay? So there's lots of reasons that may be used. I've had students from the past come into my room, grab it, and take it for the day or for a little bit and come back. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Okay. The excellence is individualized. Okay. I recognize that students achieve things at different levels, and we've got a lot of different academic levels that are going to be within a classroom that I'm going to have. And so for me, I try and make sure that I understand that what's a great level for one student, maybe a moderate level for another one. And so I'm going to recognize those things and try and make sure that I adapt and work with students to understand where they are at. It's not a one-size-fits-all type of teaching or lesson that's in there, because I don't think that's fair to the students. Okay? No. And then the last thing is, unless I already know you and know who you are, then I don't know who you are. This is your chance to recreate yourself. If you're a problem student for other teachers, you don't have to be for me. If you're a good student for other teachers, I hope you are for me. Okay, keep that going. Okay. For those of you that I've had in the past, and you're back, I know where your work ethic has been. Okay, because the students that have failed my classes are because they refuse to turn papers in. They refuse to turn stuff in. They refuse to ask for help for things. I'm going to have high expectations because you already know what to expect. And you know what you've got to do. Okay? But for the most part, a lot of these students, I've never met you before. So you're coming in as this awesome, amazing, incredible student. So don't prove me wrong. Prove me right that you're awesome, amazing, and incredible. Be on time. Be prepared. Do the work. Turn the work in. Pay attention. Do those things. Okay. All right. I try and teach personal responsibility. Google Classroom, I will send out an announcement every Monday, and that's going to have, here's what we're doing this week, here's what we're doing next week, and here's some upcoming due dates. So you know what's in there. Assignments are posted in Google Classroom with those due dates. They're in PowerSchool as well. You can see what's coming. I expect you to know those and see those and follow those. I'll be mentioning them, but I'm not going to ride your case all the time about them. It's time to start coming close to adulting in those things. Right? I have a big whiteboard over when you come in the door. It's on your right, and it says what we're doing this week and next week. Same thing that's in Google Classroom, but you can see what's going on there. I said things in Google Classroom for there. If I have a sub, okay, and there'll be a few times this semester that I need to for various reasons, and when I give work there with the sub, it is not an optional assignment. It is not a throwaway thing. It is something that connects with what we're doing and learning that we're doing, and I expect you to do it. And I expect you to do it on time. I expect you to do it correctly. So these aren't just throwaway things or things that I'm not going to grade. They are going in the grade book. Deadlines, all that will apply with sub work just as if I was here. Okay? And again, in the past, I've looked over the past several years, I've kind of kept track of this, and I've gone back. Last year I really did a deep dive into this and looked to see, and those students who have failed my class did so because they refused to do the work. They refused to pass. It's not that they couldn't. Everything was provided for them. The support system was there. The information was there. They chose to fail my class. So, choose to pass my class. Get the stuff turned in. Do the work. If it's not up to where it needs to be, I'll work with you to figure out how to get it up to where it needs to be. But I can't work with things if there's nothing for me to work with. Okay? All right. So what's the real life application that I'm trying to get out of this? Why do I teach the way that I do? Okay? Because I'm trying to prepare you for the real world. Okay? So what are employers looking for? And I know this because I'm reading articles, I'm checking out things, but also I spent 5.5 years at Ivy Tech running a department where we worked with employers from around Indiana and Ohio. And I asked them what they were looking for, and I was working at doing job placement for students. And these are the things that they're looking for. Being able to meet deadlines, being ethical, being able to have some leadership skills and communication skills, and we're going to work on that in group projects and group work and things that we do within here. Being creative. A lot of times, projects that I'm going to give you, I am not super specific on things. I don't do a checklist rubric, really, with stuff, on most stuff. It is, give me the right answer, which I think is a really good thing. Because then you've got to think and you've got to figure out how can I communicate what I know to Mr. Caldwell. An independent thought as well. It's going to be explain yourself, justify your opinion, back it up. Don't just spit facts back at me. Tell me why the facts are right. Tell me why your opinion is the right thing when that opportunity comes out. Prove it to me. I may not agree with you, but I want to see that you can justify your thoughts with things. Right? So final thought, again, I'm not all about teaching this class, in this case English, okay, or public speaking. My goal is to utilize this class to make you a better person. One day you may be my neighbor, my coworker, my kid's friend, or a fellow community member. I'm selfish. I don't want to be surrounded by idiots. I want productive people around me. My job is to teach you to be those productive people that we need for the future for that. Okay? And then last little bit here, this is my family. You know, I get to know you and some about your family. It's only fair that you get to know about me. My wife Jennifer is standing right back here. She is an online bookkeeper with a couple of different companies in there for that. And then we homeschool the boys at this time. As we get into high school, we start to look at transitioning out of that. Victoria is here. She is working on her elementary ed degree with Western Governors University and working as an aide at Little Spartans Preschool and just doing great there, doing great things with that. This is Christina, and she just finished a year as the Indiana FFA State Secretary, had to take a gap year, lived over in Trafalgar and worked for them and traveled about 10,000 miles around the state, speaking to a lot of high schools and doing leadership workshops. And now this fall she is going to be a freshman at North Carolina State University down in Raleigh, North Carolina, and studying agricultural education for that. And then Jonathan is going into 8th grade plays basketball for a community Christian school here in town. And Andrew's going into second grade and playing basketball with the Parks Department. And those boys just love basketball and sports and learning and growing from that. So that is about me and some of my teaching philosophy. Can't wait to have you in class. Can't wait to work with your kids if it's the parents and guardians watching this. If you have questions, please contact me. Let's talk. Let's figure out how to solve the problems or to fix things before they become a problem for that. Okay? So it's Mr. Caldwell. Looking forward to this semester. Have a great one.